Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 72 of Let's Go Racing with David Starr. Tyler Jones here with you. So glad to have you with us. We will look back on the weekend that was in Nashville and look ahead to this weekend at Road America, as David Starr is back with us this week, and we have a loaded show on tap. We'll get to our news and notes segment coming up later on, as well as our Ask David segment at the end of the show. Let's Go Racing with David Starr is presented by TicketSmarter. TicketSmarter came aboard as the primary sponsor this year on David's 08 Ford Mustang. We want to tell you a little bit more about what they do. TicketSmarter is a national ticket resale marketplace with tickets to over 125,000 live events, including NASCAR and other forms of motorsports. Fans can get tickets to every NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, and Camping World Truck race throughout the season. Visit TicketSmarter.com. That's TicketSmarter.com for more. David Starr joins us right now. David, you were out last week. The world was released to the information that you were under the weather a bit, but nonetheless, you're back. Feeling good and with us here this week. So good to have you back with us, David.
Man, I'm glad to be back. Man, I'm sorry to miss the show last week. We had a Marty Reed on, great guy, great commentator for years in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, along with the, I think, Busch Series back then, Cup racing. But Marty was a great guest, and just disappointed I missed it. Got a little bit of the touch of the flu, which was when you put me down, I can't go to the racetrack. I ain't feeling good. That's tough, man. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm glad to have that behind me. Got my energy back, and man, glad to be on the show with you guys today. So that was a tough week last week. That's for sure.
You know, you guys were giving me a hard time last month when I missed the All-Star race at Texas to go to the PGA Championship in Tulsa, and this week I was at Nashville. And you guys didn't show up. And so I would say that things have evened out now. I'm the one that made it out, that had a good time in Nashville. Dominic, I got to tell you, I kid you not, this was one of the best weekends of my life. Nashville was incredible. How did it take us so long to get a Nashville date on the race calendar? I mean, from everything on Broadway to the music to the atmosphere at the racetrack. I know that Sunday wasn't ideal with all the delays and everything, but Nashville is just incredible. I might make this race every year now. This might be my favorite stop, no lie.
I've never been. I've been to the city of Nashville a few times. I have some really close friends that live in the area, Matt Corson and his fiance. I know you've been out there, Tyler. Got to go see it this year as well, but never been for a NASCAR race weekend. And it does look like a really good time. The Tootsie's Bar and Grill, that looked like a great time out there. I believe you spent some of the delay there, right, Tyler?
Yes. So Tootsie's, which is, I think, the most famous honky tonk in Nashville, set up their own honky tonk in the infield at Nashville. It was incredible. And on top of that, Dominic, you'll like this. So, you know, Tootsie's, of course, sponsors the Trackhouse team, Daniel Suarez and Ross Chastain. They were selling Trackhouse beer, and it was good.
That was beer. So what did it taste like? Give us the details. What was it like? The color, the texture, the taste? You got to tell us all about it.
It was like an amber ale of sorts. Okay. And it came in a can. They had a special design. I loved it. It was great. It was one of the many highlights of my weekend. I met Gary LaVox from Rascal Flatts, ran into Bears quarterback Jay Cutler. He was out there, former Bears quarterback. Brothers Osborne did the pre-race. There was a couple of NFL stars out there. Alvin Kamara was there. Derrick Henry, among others. I mean, it was a great time. Everybody went all out. I give a lot of credit. I hate that racetrack is out in the middle of nowhere relative to the city of Nashville, but nonetheless, Dominic, they put on a show there. I think this is going to become, when you look at the NASCAR calendar from year in and year out, like that is going to be a stop that people circle. Like I got to go to the Nashville race.
Well, and it sounds like it's going to also be a stop for the hashtag Summer of Jones then.
Yes. So this is the second straight year that Nashville made the Summer of Jones, but the first time that it did for the race. And, you know, I got to say, for an encore presentation for the Summer of Jones stopping in Nashville once again, somehow it was even better than last year. So, David, I know that you're all in on the Summer of Jones too. And I got to say, you know, Nashville was great. Wish you were there, though.
Man, Nashville's always been my favorite stop. I mean, from the racing standpoint, I'm all about the racing. Nashville Fairgrounds, the little half-mile bull ring track that's been there forever. So much history there at the fairgrounds at Nashville Speedway. Man, it was awesome to race there as long as we did. And then when they built Nashville Super Speedway, I loved that place. Should have won a race there. Was taking the white flag and the caution came out, and I got beat by the late great Bobby Hamilton. But man, just Nashville, the city, the energy there, the country music, everybody. I mean, you're on Broadway, you just see all the music stars out and about. And you know, being a country music lover myself, it's just a great city with great energy. And man, last year when we went back to the Nashville Super Speedway, we had a break in action. And I don't know if it was 7, 8 years. I don't remember how long it was, and never understood why they took Nashville Super Speedway off the schedule, because it was such a great stop, a great speedway. The energy there was incredible. But last year when we ran the Xfinity race there in the Cup race, man, it was unbelievable. I remember talking to Kid Rock. He was there on pit road and got to meet Pit Bull. I mean, it was just amazing. Then to hear Tyler talk about all the celebrities that were there, I mean, what a I'm not surprised. The racing was incredible. The track's incredible. The fans are incredible in that area, and all the stars come out. And I think I agree with Tyler, Dominic. I think that's a race to stay because it's so popular. It was popular last year and even more popular the second year around. And like Tyler was saying, I think that's a race that everybody's going to want to attend because there's so much going on.
Right. I think
Tyler, you were there too.
I think the one thing that was holding it back from years past of not having a Cup date was the fact that Bristol has 2 races right there in that same state. But Bristol is so far from Nashville, 2.5, 3 hours, that the two don't really have to do with each other. And so for me, I think Nashville getting its one date, putting it right in the middle of June. I know weather didn't cooperate with the rain and everything, but that to me is going to be a marquee event. That is going to be one that stays on the schedule for a very long time, whether it's an all-star race or a full-time race, whatever it may be. That one, it amazes me, Dominic, that it took us however many years to figure out Nashville should have a Cup race. Of course it should have a Cup race.
Absolutely. And I'm curious too, just on your perspective, being there, especially on Sunday with the rain and inclement weather kind of dampening the day, how did that affect from what you saw as far as fans being there, the attitude? Did it take away from the presentation of Nashville Super Speedway because of the weather?
No, not at all. In fact, so during the downtime of the delays, I was at the Tootsie's Tent at one point, had a nice cold one. There was another point in time I was walking around and I went to go buy a hot dog and somebody just gave it to me and said, "Here, have it." That NASCAR Southern hospitality would talk about was showing. In fact, even one point during the rain delay, the second rain delay, Dom, I was in the green room, which was one of the suite areas, and you know who was there? Denny Hamlin was there. Denny was hanging out with us regular folk during the break between the race, and then sure enough, we all get the message that says that drivers have been called back to their cars. And Denny had to rush, get dressed, and head to his race car. I mean, that was pretty cool. I enjoyed all of it. Dominic, Nashville was great, and looking forward to what's ahead many years there at Nashville Super Speedway. And the result of the race, Chase Elliott getting it done. Let's start there, Dom. The Toyotas look so fast for the first 250 laps. Kyle, Martin, those guys, Denny Hamlin, it looked like there was their race to lose. And once we went to the nighttime, when the track changed after the rain delay, it was a totally different ballgame.
Yeah, and I think that transition of the track going from day to night, adding more grip, your comers and goers. We've been talking a lot about how that's the theme of the new next-gen car in 2022. Guys starting the race strong, and you see other guys kind of propel at the front at the end. Martin Truex led the most laps. He won the first 2 stages. And like you said, Toyota's dominance looked like Truex was going to win his first points awarding race of 2022. But I think what's impressing me more about this too, Tyler, you have the late race restart. Chase Elliott holds everybody off. Kurt Busch finishes second. But Chase Elliott picking up his 15th career win. He's starting to climb up the wins list and tie and surpass some guys that have won championships. And with that 15th win, he's tied with Ernie Irvan on the NASCAR all-time Cup Series wins list, 55th all-time. Chase Elliott's getting into some really serious territory when you start looking at all these winners and how many times they've won in the Cup Series.
Well, and besides the wins list, I think it's still early to be talking about the wins list with Chase Elliott. I don't think that's very important right now. But what I do think is important when it comes to these wins, David, is, we've looked at Chase Elliott of, okay, he's been so good at road courses, or he had that good run in the playoffs a couple of years ago where he went to the championship. We won the whole thing, but we haven't seen the consistency per se. And now here we are in 2022. He's got 2 wins, and he's doing it on traditional tracks. I know it sounds weird to say, but it's true. I think this is the first time in his career that Chase Elliott is actually a threat to win every week. This is the first time we've actually seen him show consistency from the beginning of the season, David.
Well, I mean, from what I've seen, he to me, he hadn't been as consistent as you thought he would be. You know what I mean? I don't think he's run that great. He's got 2 wins. And, you think about powerhouse teams, Hendrick Motorsports, I think Chase Elliott this year, he's got 2 wins already, but it ain't been a consistent. When I think of somebody consistent, strong every week, I think of a Ross Chastain. Remember, Ross Chastain's been incredible, consistent week in and week out. And I don't know if I would put Chase Elliott in that category right now. But man, at the end of the day, when it comes down to the end, they drop that checker flag, that number 9, number 9's right there, and man, 2 wins. I think they have a lot of momentum, and I think Hendrick Motorsports is starting to figure out this new next gen car. And I really feel like the Trackhouse Racing has really been the powerhouse and the big story of 2022 on the Cup side. Has been amazing. And I just, I was looking Kyle Larson, with his crew chief being suspended. I don't know, and remember where he ended up at, but he really wasn't a factor all day long, and then a couple of the other Hendrick cars got knocked out. One had a mechanical issue, the other one wrecked.
Right. Larson ended up finishing 4th, but I mean, that was the only time he ran up front after starting, towards the back a little bit there. But in regards to that with Chase Elliott, leads 42 laps, puts it together at the end. Let's go back to that call at the end of the race. Dom, Chase, before the caution, is outpacing Kyle Busch. He had the faster car, it looked like, in that moment. And Alan Gustafson makes the call for him to stay out. Kyle Busch comes to pit road, takes 2 tires. Busch comes back, I believe it was 11th or 12th after the pit stop, falls back to 18th. Everyone else took 4 tires. Chase stays out. He wins the race. Great call by Alan Gustafson, but I don't think it's as bad on Ben Bayshore's part as people think. You can't blame him for the guys that stayed out. You never know who's going to stay out. But 2, head-to-head, they did not have the car, I think, to beat Chase Elliott. I think their only shot, they went for the win, essentially, with that pit call. It just went the wrong direction for them. I mean, if they went 4 tires, it wasn't going to matter either. But, I mean, they were trying to give themselves the best position to win. I think they knew they couldn't win head-to-head on no tires compared to Chase. I know that Ben Bayshore is getting crushed for that, but that's – I mean, it was their best shot to go for a win. You can't predict how many cars are going to stay out like that.
No, and I would love to hear David's perspective on this, because David, they're always talking on the broadcast when a late race caution comes out, how the leader is always a sitting duck. Because no matter what they do, all the cars or trucks behind them are going to do the opposite of what the leader does, or do some sort of scramble or audible on pit road. So I'm curious, as a driver, when you put yourself in the driver's shoes, you're leading a race and something like that does happen, how much pressure are you feeling? How much anxiety, if you will? I mean, I know a lot of it falls on the driver and the crew chief. I mean, how much is that shared? What kind of pressure are you feeling behind the wheel when that does happen?
Lots, lots, because it depends on how many laps are left. You know what your car will do on used tires. You know how it's been handling on used tires. You know how fast you are. And obviously, if you bolt on a set of brand new Goodyear sticker tires, how much faster you're going to be. But it's always, Dominic, you called it a sitting duck, because no matter what you do, the guy running second and third is going to do the totally opposite, and it just comes down to how many laps are left. And, I think it was a great call by Chase Elliott's crew chief. Alan Gustin did a great call, because they knew they had a fast car, but man, when you bolt on 4 brand new Goodyear Eagles, it's unbelievable how much faster you are. But I think what helped them as well is how many other cars, there was a buffer there, and there was only 5 laps to go.
Yeah, and 9 other cars stayed out.
Yeah, and Chase Elliott's car was really good. But man, it's hard I'm saying really good, but man, brand new stickers compared to used tires, dude, it's night and day. But I think it was a great call. It could have went either way. If there wasn't a buffer there, if there wasn't a buffer in between Chase Elliott and the guys that had taken 4 tires on, I don't think he could have held them off. It would have been a great race to the end, but I think the tires would have showed up. But the buffer with the other cars that stayed out gave him a buffer. I think that was really what really helped him win. But man, it's always you're a sitting duck, man, when you're leading the race and there's caution comes out 5, 6, 7 laps to go. What do you do? Because this guy running second and the guy running third, they're going to do the total opposite of what you're going to do. You know what I mean? And you just hope that you and your crew chief, and we've seen it, guys. We've seen it not just this season, last season. You see it. Guy running the lead said, well, man, I'm coming in, and then second, third stay out. And then he, finishes 7th or 8th or whatever it may be. And he's mad, but man, it's just a tough deal. It's exciting, and man, sometimes it's a tough call, but this call Alan made with Chase Elliott, it was spot on.
Now, what about on Kyle Busch's side? Ben Bayshore calling him in to take 2 tires. They ultimately end up finishing 18th. And they're not up there competing with Chase Elliott. They didn't stay out, and they got blown by everybody else that took 4 tires. I don't fault them for trying to make a move to win the race, but obviously about the worst of circumstances went their direction. I mean, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, right?
Man, hindsight's 20/20. I mean, if you could see what was going to happen. I mean, I was really shocked when Kyle Busch pitted. Because with as many laps that were left, which was not many. I mean, they took the green, I think, with 4 or 5 laps to go, and how many cars stayed out. And I remember the commentators saying there's so many cars on the lead lap. It was interesting to me because I was thinking, man, when I seen Kyle Busch come pit road, I was shocked. I really thought, he wasn't as good as Chase Elliott, but he, especially in the long run, Chase was putting real estate in between him and Kyle Busch. But, things change when the tires cool off a little bit. You got to restart. Ain't like they're going to run 20 more laps or 15 laps. There was only 5 or 6 laps at the most, and your tires cool off a little bit. I was really surprised by that move that Kyle Busch and his crew chief decided to do. I was surprised by it, because I really thought that the only shot they had was to do whatever Chase Elliott would do. I thought Kyle Busch should have done. And when Chase didn't come in, I really thought Kyle Busch should have stayed out with Chase, to be honest with you.
Okay. Dominic, correct me if I'm wrong in this. I don't have any statistics to back this up, but it seems like, just from an outside perspective, watching this year with this next-gen car, when it comes to restarts, that leader, he's allowed to have like a half a car length gap at the line, right?
I don't know if it's a half car length, but he's got to cross the start finish line leading the race.
It has seemed like, for me, and David, feel free, correct me if I'm wrong on this too, that this year, the one thing with the next gen, like as opposed to that's maybe not as great compared to what we've seen in the last car, it seems like that's been a big advantage for whoever is the leader on the restart going into that first turn, as opposed to, in the past, like same situation, for example, that guy that is technically second still could go toe to toe. It seems like that this next gen car has given the way that the dynamics work, that leader has a distinct advantage more so than he did previously in the old car.
Well, I think he does, because he knows what line works best. You know what I mean? And when you can get in the corner, Chase chose the outside, which was better for him, and it kept his momentum up. And, I think Kurt Busch really, had a shot at it. But man, once Chase Elliott chose the outside and the restart happened, they were basically side by side until they went into turn one. And then, man, it was the right call on Chase, because he pulled away. So there's a lot of variables there on how all that works, choosing the right lane. I've seen this year, choosing the wrong lane. And then, the second place guy gets a run up on the outside next to them, who takes the lead, so it's, there's a lot of stuff happening. You got to make the right decisions, and Chase and Allen did all the right things, but it's very interesting. It's fun. It's not as easy as it looks, making the right decisions, choosing the right lane, and making sure whoever's starting behind you is going to kind of help you some. I mean, there's just a lot of factors, so it's exciting. It's exciting to be a competitor and to be in that situation. It's exciting to be a fan and to watch it. But man, it's just, we're talking about it. It was exciting, and it all worked out for Chase Elliott.
Yeah. Now, as far as the race to the championship goes, Dominic, we're entering that second half of the season now. Nobody has more than 2 wins. We have a whole lot of winners, I believe. What is it? 12 different winners so far this year. Chase Elliott getting the second win here, but it doesn't feel like that there is a clear favorite for this championship. In years past, we could point to about this time of year and maybe narrow it down to 2 or 3 names that stand out among the rest. But I mean, no one has really separated themselves. We were saying at the beginning of the show here, this is the first time really that Chase Elliott's shown much week to week consistency here. But I mean, would anyone say confidently that he's better than Kyle Larson or Ross Chastain right now? No. I mean, like, you could probably name 5 or 6 guys and have a right to name 5 or 6 guys without looking like an idiot that you could say are championship contenders right now.
Well, I think it's deceiving too, because if you look at all the columns, all the numbers, Chase Elliott has the second most laps led this season. Ahead of him, William Byron. But Elliott led a lot of those laps at Martinsville, where it's easy to pick up laps led if you're the leader. But I got to agree with David when he brought up Ross Chastain and Team Trackhouse, and how they have just been able to show raw speed everywhere they have gone. I don't know, Tyler. I feel like Chastain might be our guy right now as we enter these last 8 races in the Cup Series regular season. It looks like right now Chastain, week in and week out, is running in the top 5 every week, ruffling some feathers, but running certainly towards the front of the pack. I mean, I would think William Byron and maybe Kyle Larson would be names ahead of Chase Elliott, or even Ryan Blaney, guys that are picking up stage points every week. And I would say, I'd even take a step further and say maybe even Denny Hamlin is the strongest driver this year. Yet that team, even though they seem to be leading everywhere, they seem to have problems week in and week out. And it seems like they have worked those out the last few weeks, but 2 wins there as well with the 11 team. Not the top 10s to show for it, but they have been pretty much leading everywhere it goes. And they've led close to 300 laps this year, and on varieties of types of racetracks too.
Yeah. I mean, with where things at, it's the parity that NASCAR wanted. I know the playoff is still several weeks away, but David, I think we're setting up for one of the most unpredictable playoffs we've ever seen.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's unpredictable. The parity is incredible. But I don't know. These teams are working hard every weekend. These engineers, these crew chiefs, are figuring out what their driver needs. They're trying to figure out this next gen car. I want to agree with Dominic. I think right now, Ross Chastain, the Trackhouse Racing team, is one that's really, the one that just comes to my mind that's to me is favored right now. But I can assure you that with all the powerhouse teams, weekend after they practice, qualify, they run a race, man, they're taking that information, they're learning, they're building kind of the notebook. And I think as we get, next race, 2, 3, or 4 races, we're going to see some of these powerhouse teams get it figured out, so it's so new for them. We're not really used to seeing Hendrick Motorsports, not that they're struggling, but not be as dominant as what we're used to seeing over the years, and I think it's the next gen car and trying to figure it out. And man, so I don't know. I think maybe our favorite, we don't know who our favorite, who's going to be a favorite yet, but I think the next 4, 5, 6, 7 races, there'll be one that will pop out and get it figured out. It's just exciting because it seems like, it's like you can't sit here and say who's really the biggest story of the season. I mean, to me, it's like Dominic says, it's Trackhouse Racing with Daniel Suarez and Ross Chastain. I mean, they've been consistently fast every week. But I'm not so sure if we're not going to see 2 or 3 or 4 other teams step up to the plate. I was impressed with the Joe Gibbs cars before, some of the delays, the track temperature changed, the weather changed, and they wasn't as dominant as they were, but all 4 of the Gibbs cars were impressive. Martin Truex, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin. I mean, it was just, Christopher Bell was they were all fast, and you can't ever count out that Gibbs organization. And I think they're learning stuff. When the temperature changed and the track temperature cooled down, something happened. But let me tell you whatever happened and however the cars changed, they're learning. And I think they're going to be a factor. But it's very interesting and it's exciting. And as a fan, it's cool to watch. And man, every weekend's different. So, how many winners we have so far? 12?
12 winners.
Yes.
12 winners. And how many more races we got to the playoffs begin?
9.
Dominic, how many?
9 more races.
I mean, I mean, this might be the first year that we talked about it in the past that we have 16 winners. I mean, it's possible,
I think you're right. Well, look, Christopher Bell hasn't won. Ryan Blaney.
Kevin Harvick.
Harvick, man, I was impressed with Harvick.
Harvick's shown a lot more speed as of late, too.
Absolutely.
His win is coming sooner than later.
I think Harvick's going to have to win to get in the playoffs. I mean, there's only how many spots are left? 4 more spots.
Yep.
And there's 9 races. I mean, this could be the first year we see all 16 spots, all 16 winners. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Reddick, he showed some speed in the first several weeks. He's kind of slowing off a little bit, but
can't count him out though.
We know that he's still capable of winning. I mean, there's a number of guys that very well could still get to victory lane, before the year's up. And with that being said, looking ahead to this week at Road America, Dominic, another wild card factor of sorts when, you look at Road America. This is a track that maybe guys at other places wouldn't have a shot to make it to the playoff. But what if, let's say, a good road racer like Michael McDowell, is up there, or among others? I mean,
AJ Allmendinger.
Now he's not full time, but Colleague could get in the playoff on owner points with that 16 car. I mean, there's a whole number of possibilities potentially with that here with what Road America plays. That's a wild card factor between this and we got the Indy Road Course coming up. I mean, there's some opportunities for guys to compete here over the next few weeks that wouldn't be able to otherwise.
I think McDowell is a name that goes towards the top of that list. Very, very talented and very underrated road course racer and an excellent super speedway racer. And he's having, statistically speaking, his career year. I mean, yeah, he did win the Daytona 500 last year, but he's running better and better every week in that 34 car. Front Row Motorsports is picking up stage points in races. That's something we never talked about. Michael McDowell is consistently finishing inside the top 15. I mean, I even look at somebody like Justin Haley, who has run well and shown some really good promise. He's won before. He won at Daytona in 2019. So there's a lot of guys that can make it happen. And like you said, David, we could have 16 winners. Heck, we could have 16 winners going into Daytona. And imagine how crazy Daytona will be. And you bump a winner from the playoff grid. The only sure way to get in the playoffs this year is to have 2 victories under your belt. And only 4 guys have that.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is. And as far as Road America goes, Dom, the laps, experience, I think, is kind of limited here. We've seen it on the Xfinity calendar, but we ran here last year, probably not going to come back here after this year. This is going to be a very interesting race, knowing just the lack of laps these guys have at this course.
Absolutely. I mean, Christopher Bell, I think, is somebody you're going to have to really take a look at. His only Cup Series points win to date came at the Daytona Road Course, and he finished second to Chase Elliott in this race last year. So I look at a lot of these guys that, man, they can really go and pounce and have a good chance at winning a Cup race. And if it's the last Road America race, we know it's going to be fireworks, not because it's just the 4th of July race weekend either, but because it's going to put on a great show between Xfinity and Cup.
David, what do you make of Road America? You've been out there before. What do you think of that track?
Great track, great road course. Love it. So much history there. When I put my deal together with Bobby Daughter this year and with Brett Baer and Stan Ross with TicketSmarter, when I put the deal together with Bobby, the road course races, we decided that, hey, there's a lot stronger drivers out there, and trying to put your sponsors and your team in the victory lane felt like I'd step out of the car for the road races. And we have Andy Lally driving our 08 Ford Mustang this weekend. It's
a friend of the show.
Dude, it's unbelievable. Andy Lally, one of the best road course racers in the country. And I'm excited about that. I hate to sit out. I want to be there racing so bad, obviously, with not racing Nashville, being sick, but man, it's about to kill me. But man, what a great Road America is an awesome racetrack, road course track, rich in history. You win there, you're doing something special. But man, it's going to be a fun weekend to watch the NASCAR Xfinity Series and the Cup Series. It's not going to disappoint. It's going to be a lot of sparks and fireworks, and man, people beating and banging on each other. It's going to be a great weekend of racing at Road America.
Yeah, I think so. Dominic, when you look at Road America here, what are you watching for this race? What do you think is going to make it exciting?
I think what will make it exciting is the race within the race. Seeing who is going to pit first, who's going to pit right before the stage breaks. And that, NASCAR sets up the stage racing in the Cup Series and all the series at the road courses to be where you want to collect stage points. Okay, you might sacrifice the race winning strategy. So it's going to be interesting to see which guys are going to go for points, which guys are far enough back in the field to be in the middle of stage 1 where their strategies change. I'm looking for all that. I love seeing how strategy plays out on the road courses. And I think that's something we got to look for. Who's going to pick up the stage points? More importantly, who's going to pick up the stage wins or the race win, excuse me.
Yeah, I think so. That should be good. And 4th of July weekend, David, isn't it fitting that 4th of July we go to Road America?
Road America. That's kind of cool. We're used to being at the Firecracker 400 in Daytona Beach, Florida, but yeah, it's kind of fitting. And hey, man, if people are going to see a lot of firecrackers, going to be a lot of fire, a lot of explosions going on the racetrack, because it's man, it's getting down. These road course races are really good, and there's a lot of mad people at the end of them, beating and banging on each other. I think we're going to see an exciting weekend of racing at Road America.
Dominic, not just with his next gen car, but even going back the last several years, I give NASCAR a lot of credit, not only for adding more road course races, but road course racing has turned into a good product. I think that if you look back, not too long ago, when road racing was just 2 races, everybody kind of cringed a bit, like, oh, great, here we go. We got to get through Sonoma. We got to get through Watkins Glen. Now, I don't know about you, but when Road America or the Indy Road Course, Watkins Glen, Sonoma, the Roval, all these different places, when they come on, I get just excited for them as I do anything else in the NASCAR schedule. Credit where credit's due for NASCAR figuring out these road courses and putting together a good product here.
Well, I think part of that too, you're right, Tyler. The racing's been so great. I think it lends itself back to the stage racing too. All the points that are up for grabs, the race within the race. I feel like I'm always watching that closely. Okay, who's going to pit with 4 to go, 3 laps to go? That leader's going to pit and they're going for the race winning strategy. They're giving up stage points, but they're seeing the bigger picture. It's cool to see how the teams will strategize around this. And you'll see some guys pick up stage points that maybe typically wouldn't have, or they can piece together a better run. It's really cool to see all that. And I think that lends itself to the product too. The stage racing, once it began in 2017, NASCAR knew what they were doing, especially with the road courses. And I think that adds to the level of tension and speculation and how's it going to all play out, because road course racing, I think the last few years has really been great. I do agree with that.
David, you want to see more road courses? What do you think of the state of road course racing right now?
Well, I mean, it's exciting, no doubt about it. Man, I love road course racing, but man, when you go to Brickyard 400, man, it's just so historical. I'd really rather run on the big track at Indianapolis, and it was interesting when a couple of years ago, they say we're going to run on the Indy road course, you know what I mean? But hey, I think NASCAR, like you guys were saying, they've done a great job. It's exciting. The race within the race, like what Dominic's talking about. I mean, the road racing races in 2021, 2022 have been over the top exciting, especially with the stage point winners and the strategies. It makes the race. I don't know. I look back on the road course races in the past, and there wasn't, they were just okay. Now with everything going on, it makes it more exciting. So I think just the way the points are laid out, the stage racing is, the strategy of it, it just makes it where it's exciting racing now.
Yeah, I think so. We'll go ahead and get to our news and notes segment in just one moment. But before we do, let's go racing with David Starr. It's presented by TicketSmarter, the official ticket resale marketplace of Worldwide Technology Raceway. They were the presenting sponsor for the Cup race there just a couple weeks ago. Fans can get tickets to any type of event in sports, concerts, theater productions. TicketSmarter is committing to helping those in need by donating $1 to every transaction to various charity organizations. Head over to TicketSmarter.com to find tickets to upcoming events. That's TicketSmarter.com for more information there. All right, news and notes time. Dom, we got an update on Tyler Reddick, I believe.
Tyler Reddick, I don't have the news on that, but I do have some news on some signings for you guys.
Okay, well, I'll tell you the Tyler Reddick thing then.
Okay, yeah, well, I'll defer to you on that one, yes.
So Bob Pockris reported over the weekend that Richard Childress Racing is opting in on Tyler Reddick's contract as expected, and that they're working on a long-term deal, that they want to see him stay, but that other teams are going to be pursuing Tyler Reddick, trying to get him after this year. According to Pockris, it's unlikely that Reddick will be able to leave after this year, that he's pretty much locked into the opt-in from the team option, but that other teams could explore options beyond next season. So Dominic, I'll toss it to you then for the follow-up, since we switched there for a second. What do you think? Could you see, obviously there's interest, other teams like Tyler Reddick, could you see him leaving RCR?
Not in the immediate future. Seems like they're on the cusp of winning their first Cup race together. He did win the Xfinity Series title with the team before he made the jump to the Cup Series. I see a lot of potential here with Richard Childress Racing and Tyler Reddick. Hey, you learn something every day. I didn't know this was news too, so thank you for breaking that to us, Tyler. But this kind of lends into with the other news that's been going on the last few days as well. We know that Ricky Stenhouse is staying put at JTG Doherty Racing. They announced an extension there as well as Martin Truex Jr. announcing that he'll be back for at least one more year in the 19 car through 2023. So I always remember, guys, silly season, and for those not familiar with the term silly season, it's always around that time, a few months before the next calendar year, where teams start announcing plans, sponsorships, drivers start saying where they're going to be at the next year. I feel like it's getting a little earlier and earlier every year. I don't remember stuff being announced really in June.
Well, it was around June when Dale Earnhardt Jr. announced he was going to Hendrick back in the day. It was around this time. But yeah, I see what you mean there, Dominic. David, your thoughts? Tyler Reddick, let's start there. You think he stays at RCR? I mean, I get why a lot of teams would be interested in Tyler Reddick. He's been red hot.
Man, that kid is a hell of a race car driver. And I think I mean, knowing Richard Childress, he's not gonna let that kid go. He's got a lot of talent. I think he's a future champion in the sport, is a champion in the Xfinity series. But man, I tell you what, I'd be surprised if they let Tyler Reddick go. Lots of talent. We see what he's done so far last year, this year. The kid can drive a race car. They give him a good race car and he's going to the front. And man, he's got a big future in our sport. I don't see Richard Childress Racing letting Tyler Reddick go.
I think, Dominic, with the way that we've seen with this next-gen car, the first tier is Hendrick, Gibbs, and Penske. But then it's just everyone else after that. I mean, if you're Tyler Reddick, if you're not getting a nice offer from one of those three teams, you're really not going to find a better situation than what you have there at RCR.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And I mean, they want to build this program around Tyler Reddick. He's close to winning a cup race. He's made the playoffs. He has shown those flashes of brilliance. And I think you have that chemistry there with the team. They're just going to continue to build on it. And I feel like that win's coming. We know that win for the 8 car is coming. He's going to be one of the next first-time winners in the Cup Series. And it seems like, I don't know, to me, Tyler Reddick and RCR are a match made in heaven for what they have going on. And I could see Tyler making that his home for at least another few seasons.
I mean, the team that comes to mind is Stuart Haas, right? Because they should be having some openings in the next couple of years. We don't know about Kevin Harvick's future. We know Almirola is retiring at the end of this year, but Stuart Haas, as of late, hasn't been any better than RCR has. So, no. I mean, that doesn't look like much of an improvement right now anyway, as far as that goes, of potential options there. Now, the other two that were mentioned, Stenhouse staying at JTG, Martin Truex coming back another year. There was retirement speculation on Martin Truex. I know that there's other factors beyond the racetrack. It comes to when it comes to family and other things. But we saw Martin running up front last week. He doesn't need to be retiring right now, David.
I don't, man. I mean, I was shocked to hear, even them, in the garage at the racetracks, a little people talking and rumors about Truex maybe stepping away from the sport. I was like, you got to be kidding me. This guy's a champion. He's on top of his game. I mean, he's a great race car driver with a great organization. I was shocked when I first heard these rumors, and I heard people talking about it. But I mean, a former champion. I mean, I don't know, is you look at this new next gen car, there's a lot of questions. And, I think Truex might have been frustrated the way the season started and how it was going with the new car. But man, I think Joe Gibbs Racing is on pace to be there at the end. And I'm not surprised to see Martin sign up for another year, because I think he could be a championship caliber again. I mean, they are a championship caliber organization. You know what I mean? It wouldn't surprise me if we saw Martin Truex Jr. as our 2022 champion.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. It's just a great, like somebody said, a great match. That organization, Martin Truex, with that equipment and everything, I mean, that's champion caliber right there. I don't know why anybody would step out of that.
Yeah, I get it that there's some other things, outside the track,
right.
When it comes to Martin, as far as that goes. But Dominic, for me, I look at Martin's career, and it's one of those what ifs for me, because he was in such a mess at DEI, a mess at Michael Waltrip Racing, and Furniture Row. I mean, it took a while, but once they got that going, they were great. I mean, in one of those what ifs, if he would have been at Gibbs his entire career, how many championships would he have? How many races would he have won? I feel like we were deprived. The last 6-7 years have been great for Martin, but I feel like he could have been so much more if he would have had so much better support earlier in his career.
Well, your point kind of lends into what I was thinking. I would love to hear David's perspective on this. Like you said, Tyler, Truex from day one, 2004, 2005 is top 10 in points, winning cup races. I think we'd be having a different story. But David, it seems to me like how Tyler said, we have a guy that we really didn't get to see his full potential until he was given great equipment and he earned those rides. But if Truex would have been running great this entire time, would we be looking at a different story? Is it because Truex has been running so well, so late in his career, in the twilight of his career, it's harder to step away as a driver from that perspective? You're winning. You weren't winning so much, but now you're winning and you're running in top caliber equipment. Does that play a difference in it?
Man, I don't know. It's all about having an organization behind you. He's got Toyota, Joe Gibbs Racing, the best of the best. I mean, you're just this championship caliber. Don't get much better than the situation Mark Truex, is in. You're not going to get much better than that. And to have all that right there in front of you, be a part of all that. I mean, I see him. I mean, to me, obviously a lot of challenges with the new next gen car, trying to figure out what these cars need to make them go fast. I think Gibbs is, they've been learning, but man, here of late, they've gotten it figured out. I don't know if they have 100% of it figured out, but they're getting close. And man, watching Truex the last 4 or 5 races has been impressive. That's the Truex I'm used to seeing, And, if he was questioning, how the new next gen car was driving, he didn't like it, or, they're a little bit behind. I mean, that organization, if they're behind, they won't be behind for long. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know. To me, he's in the best situation any race car driver in the world would love to be a part of. And to me, it don't make sense why he would want to retire now or next year. I mean, let's ride this thing as long as we can, as long as he's capable of winning. Hell, I'm going to stay in there as long as they'll let me stay. I mean,
Well, James Small is a good crew chief, but he's not great like Cole Pearn was. Cole Pearn was as good as anyone in the business. And we've seen Cole Pearn come back and help out and, substitute as car chief. I don't know if anyone's talked about this, Dom, but what if for one last run, if Martin only wants to do this a couple more years, what if they could get Cole Pearn back on the box and run it back with those two? I mean, I would argue that at the time, they were the best driver crew chief duo when they were together. If he could finish his career back with Cole Pearn, they might go out next year, win 8 or 9 races. I mean, that's the difference. You talk about those pairings, there's certain ones you point to. Keselowski and Paul Wolf when they were together. Obviously, Jimmy and Chad, some of these others, you go back to Jeff and Ray Evernham, Martin, Cole were in that elite category together. I'd love to see those two reunite.
Yeah, James Small, nothing against the work he's done with the 19 team atop the pit box. He's done a great job, but you're right. There was just something special about Cole Pearn and Martin Truex Jr. working together. And I believe Cole Pearn came back in a one-race deal to help the team at Sonoma. I'd love to see more of that. I agree, Tyler. You pair those two back together, could be a match made in heaven.
Yeah, it'd be great. What else we got going on, Dom?
Well, so broadcast news, looking forward to 2023. This is according to the Sports Business Journal. Fox is interested in moving the NASCAR All-Star Race. So we know the NASCAR All-Star Race for a long time ran at Charlotte up until 2019, ran at Bristol in 2020 through the pandemic, and the last 2 years at David's home track, Texas Motor Speedway. But the network is exploring the idea with NASCAR about possibly moving the All-Star Race to a different location, similar to what the MLB does every year with the All-Star Game and moving that to a different location. Guys, if that were to happen, what are some prime candidates do you think that would be at the top of that list?
So here's something to keep in mind as far as that goes. Some other factors. That's right now the All-Star Race is an SMI race. If SMI were to lose the All-Star Race, then they'd have to pick up a cup date. It had to be like a swap of some sorts, I believe. So with that in mind, there's 2 ways of looking at that. Either current SMI tracks or a swap deal of, is there a track that you'd like to see that is a NASCAR owned track and, trade out with an SMI track or something like that. Obviously, if besides all the other factors, I think everybody loves the idea, David, of Eldora getting involved in hosting the All-Star Race. Tony Stewart's already put that out there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'd hate to see Texas lose the All-Star Race, but we talked about it before. I think the All-Star race should move around. I mean, it's an All-Star race, and one track should have it for 2 years or a year and move the All-Star race around. But not only Eldora, what comes to mind is Bristol. Man, I'd love to see the All-Star race at the Bristol Motor Speedway. Man, that would be incredible.
Yeah, and they put on a good show when they had the All-Star race, a couple of years ago, and had a good turnout there with the pandemic situation. Dom, what comes to mind? Who do you think would be a good candidate for the All-Star race?
I think you have to factor in what you said too about SMI and wanting to keep the All-Star race. That would eliminate a lot of tracks, right? If we know Fox is going to want to keep the All-Star race and SMI is going to want to keep the All-Star race, that leaves just a few tracks. That would be Las Vegas, Atlanta, Bristol, Texas, Charlotte, Coda, and Sonoma. So maybe one of those. You still have a variety there where you could bounce it around year after year. But yeah, those are the tracks that would come to mind at my short list.
And there's a couple of SMI tracks that they own that are not on the circuit right now, including North Wilkesboro in Kentucky. Could we see them get involved, you think, Dom?
Potentially. I think I had seen about a year ago, Kentucky Speedway, as of 2021, was being used to, I think, park a lot of vehicles for dealerships and stuff. Like brand new cars were being parked. I don't know if you guys had seen that photo, but it was a bunch of Toyota Tundras, I believe, lined up in the infield, all scattered across the track and the surface. It'd be nice to be able to see movement on that track, and maybe SMI could resurrect it.
Yeah.
What about North Wilkesboro? We've seen some rumblings about a return there. Could the All-Star race, you think, be a good fit, David?
Well, you gotta, there's a lot of factors, and the markets, big markets, and when you think of the All-Star race, just it belongs in a big market, and as excited as I am that they're going to have a late model race at North Wilkesboro. It's coming back. They're trying to bring the racetrack back. So much history there, and I love that. I'm not real sure if the All-Star race really belongs at North Wilkesboro. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't think the market's big enough, but it's not too far out of the Charlotte area. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's, I don't know. I think it belongs in a big market because it's such a big event with so much money, so much at stake. It's just a lot of hype behind it.
Right.
And I don't know, man. I mean, anything's possible. I mean, who would ever thought that we'd have saw a NASCAR race at the LA Coliseum? You know what I'm saying? I mean,
so, and Fox was a big part of that, of the inner workings. Dom, I don't think I'm reading too much into this here, but knowing what Fox did, they were a big part of putting together the Clash, and now they're looking at the All-Star race, and the next TV contract coming up, here soon. I have a feeling that Fox is going to be a big mover and shaker. Like, the direction of this sport is not a diss on NBC at all, but I feel like Fox is going to kind of lead the way. They're kind of calling the shots for the sport and in the vision of it going forward. They're making, Ben Kennedy and company, their first phone calls to Fox. It's not to anyone else.
I agree with that. I know ESPN might want to throw their hand in it too. And I think just to even take that a step further, Tyler, and I know you have those connections with the networks and know people in those inner circles. How likely would we see it where when those TV contracts do come up and there's a talk of trying to map out the schedule for 7-8 years, that one network might try to throw a bid for the entire season and have it across multiple channels on their platform? Could that be a possibility?
Well, it would be tough because of the NFL factor, especially with Fox's dedication to NFL Sundays, and they just locked up a new contract there. I don't see that happening. But I could very well see one of the things on the football side of things, the Big Ten Conference, for example, Fox is their number one partner. And for their other TV deals that the Big Ten's negotiating, you have to come to Fox with a presentation of, this is what we want to do for Big Ten football. And Fox is approving the other networks to cover the Big Ten Conference. They're going to bring in other partners, but it's going to be with Fox's approval. I could see something happening very similar where Fox gets the races they want, and then they divvy out and say, all right, CBS or NBC or ESPN, you're getting this next batch after that. That could very well be something that happens there. Dom, anything else on the news and notes front, or do we need to pick winners for Road America?
We need to pick winners for Road America.
All right, Dom, you go ahead first.
I'm going to go with Christopher Bell to get it done. I think Christopher gets his second career win, and it's going to come on the road course this weekend, and he becomes not a lock, but almost a virtual lock for the playoffs as the 13th winner.
Okay. David, who's your pick for Road America?
Road America to me is going to be Chase Elliott. After winning last week at Nashville, that momentum's big for any racing team, and I feel like we'll see Chase Elliott and Victor Lane at Road America.
We talked a lot about Trackhouse earlier. I'm going Ross Chastain to get it done. His second road course win, third win overall of 2022. So there you have it. Our Ask David segment coming up in just one moment. But before we do, Let's Go Racing is presented by TicketSmarter. TicketSmarter came aboard as the primary sponsor this year in David's 08 Ford Mustang. We want to tell you a little bit more about what they do. TicketSmarter is a national ticket resale marketplace with tickets to over 125,000 live events, including NASCAR and other forms of motorsports. Fans can get tickets to every NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, and Camping World Truck Race throughout the season. Visit TicketSmarter.com for more. That's TicketSmarter.com. All right, time for our Ask David segment. We ask you to submit questions to us on Facebook, Twitter, and by email. Facebook.com/David Starr Podcast, Twitter @Starr Podcast, and by email, davidstarrpodcast@gmail.com. Our first question in the inbox this week is from Brody. Brody wants to know, David, how do you become a NASCAR driver and how much does it cost? There's an inside joke with this question.
Dominic, I'll let you answer that one, buddy.
Well, my son's on the way, and I'm going to groom him to be. No, I'm not going to groom him to be a race car driver.
Wait. You just gave the news. You have a son coming?
Yeah, our son, Felice and I, we did a gender reveal party, right? So I think we announced on the show last week that we announced the baby's coming. So our baby boy's going to be here in November. Christopher is going to be here.
Congratulations.
You named your kid after Christopher Bell. You couldn't find a better racer than that.
I went for Jeffrey. I really like the name Jeffrey, but I got shot down on that.
You didn't name your kid Dale?
No Dale either. Or David. Those names all got shot down, guys. Even Edward. There were some names we threw out. But to answer that question, I'm sure if my son wants to pursue racing, David, I'm going to find out really quick how expensive it is.
Well, hey man, whoever wants to pursue it, you got to have a lot of want to, you know what I mean? And yeah, absolutely. It's an awesome sport. It's been good to all of us. And if you want to race, like I said, there's racing all over the United States. Go to your local dirt track, asphalt track, get involved. Know the rules. I mean, hey, get involved, go racing, man. We need all the racers, and we add another racer is be awesome, but yeah, just I can't think of a better way to spend your weekends, at a racetrack somewhere. So good luck to you.
David, is it a lot harder to become a racer now than it was before?
Man, I absolutely it is. The same. Everything applies. You got to really be engaged with the chassis stuff. You got to be a great race car driver. You got to learn how to race, know how to race. I mean, everything's the same, but the sad part about, the sport we love so much, and we hear about it week in and week out, and we talk a lot about it, is funding, and you look at the different drivers that I race against and in the Cup Series, Truck Series, just, if a lot of the racers, you got to have sponsors, you got to have funding, you got to have money, and there's a lot of great race car drivers across the United States that may not ever get that opportunity because they don't have the big funding behind them. You know what I mean? So what Trackhouse has done with Justin Marks and Pitbull to give Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez opportunities to drive great race car drivers with bringing no funding is amazing. And I love that, because other race car drivers that aren't in NASCAR yet, I hope one day it pays off for them, for their dedication, passion for the sport, winning races and just loving it, will one day get the opportunity to race in NASCAR as a professional, and not just because they don't have money or they do have money. So, but yes, it is harder, Tyler.
Okay. Very good to know. Another question from the inbox. This one comes from Peggy. Peggy wants to know, David, with this weekend being the 4th of July, what do you love most about America?
Well, I love that holiday. We're usually in Daytona racing, celebrating just celebrating the 4th of July. It's awesome. The fireworks, people going to the lake, the parks, it just celebrating our country, you know what I mean? And I love it. I mean, us guys, we're usually in Daytona, celebrating a great race and the fireworks show after the race. But man, I love the country that we live in. We're proud Americans, and it's awesome that the whole United States celebrates the 4th of July like we do, whether you're at a racetrack, a ballpark, or at the park with your family, or on the lake with all your friends and family. It's just, I love everything. I love what it stands for. We're proud Americans, and I'll be shooting off some fireworks myself this weekend. It'll be a lot of fun.
Dominic, you are much of a firework guy?
No, I don't trust myself. I feel like I'll blow off the finger. I know my limits. I like to test things, and I'd probably take it too far. So no fireworks. I'd rather go watch them, and probably the inner cheap guy in me, but I just think you're watching the fireworks go up and you're burning up your own money. I'd rather watch somebody else burn up their own money.
What do you love most about this country, Dominic?
Man, I love the freedoms we have. I think those are something that, I don't know. We get a little complacent with them, but all the men and women that sacrifice so much so that we can do like what we're doing here. We have this racing show that we get to do every week. We get to interact with NASCAR fans. We get to go and cover a sport that we have a lot of passion for. That's possible without the people that have served our country. So that's where I think my mind goes, especially on a weekend like this, knowing the people that have given that sacrifice, as they say, right? All gave some, but some gave all. So I really think about that when it comes to the 4th of July weekend. And that's what I love about our country is you want to do what you want in this country, put in the hard work. You might catch a lucky break here and there. You can really do whatever you want in your life. It's entirely up to you on how much work ethic you want to put in. Like David said, with the question on wanting to become a race car driver, it really is entirely up to you. How about you, Tom? I'm going to flip that on you.
For me, I think about this. You don't have to go very far to turn on your phone and see a lot of people complaining about a lot of different things, right? And I don't need to go to specifics. People have their outrage about a lot of different things. And yet, even with all that outrage, or even with all the problems and some very serious issues, I'm not, downplaying that at all. Our worst days are still way better than most places.
Mm-hmm.
Our worst days are still what would be the best days almost anywhere else.
Right.
And so that for me, and all that takes that goes into that, whether it's our, the people that have fought for us to have that right, or, everything that's been the groundwork that's been laid for us to be at this point. That's, to me, is what I think of, this 4th of July weekend, and just how grateful I am for what we get to have, for this life that we all get to live, in this great country. That's what comes to mind to me, Dominic.
Yeah, there's just so much to be grateful to live in this country, and you're right. There's so many people that have it way worse and way harder than what we have. So I think there's a lot to be thankful for, a lot to count the lucky stars for, because we really do have it pretty good here.
Yeah, we do.
Absolutely,
we do. Dominic, we were going to be joined by Jeff Green this week, but a little flight complications with him, but we'll be hearing from him again in the future, I'm sure.
Jeff will be joining the show at a later date. We did have to reschedule. I know we teased that on social media. So the winners that did say correctly on Twitter and Facebook, you will get your prize. So make sure to message us on the page, and we'll let you know if you did win. So yes, Jeff Green, 2001 NASCAR Xfinity Series champion, was supposed to join us. Got delayed at the airport. We were in contact. He's really sorry couldn't be here, but told him we'd reschedule, so not a problem. So he will be here hopefully in the coming weeks. But next week, we do have a really cool guest. David, I don't know if you know him. Tyler and I have known this guy quite a bit of time, and he's kind of become taking the NASCAR stage by storm on the media side. Davey Siegel will be joining us on the show next week.
Yeah, and Davey has done an incredible job covering NASCAR home tracks for a long time. He's doing work with Sirius XM now, and a lot of stuff. I mean, he's been all over the place doing a great job. Davey is a great friend, and we'll look forward to chatting with him next week. Before we go real quick around the room, David, what are you up to this week? You're off, but I'm sure you still got plenty going on.
Oh, no doubt about it. Be glued to the television, watching my car, watching Andy Lally get after it, Road America. Man, I'm excited about that. He's one of the best road racers out there. so I'll be glued to the television, but headed down to Galveston, Texas with my family to enjoy a little R&R, enjoy the beach, and have a great time with my family and my boys. But we'll be glued watching the NASCAR races this weekend. So that's what we're doing. We're going down to the beach to enjoy it and enjoy the holiday. And man, it's going to be a great weekend of racing as well. So,
Dominic, how about you?
I'll be spending it here in Grants. I'm going to get to see Felice this weekend. So we'll have a great time out here, and family's out of state. So I'll be here in Grants. It's going to be a good time. And yeah, they left me behind, guys. I went to New York to go visit the rest of the family. So no, and
where's the love at, Dom?
I know, right? So she's in Santa Fe. She'll be here later on in the week. So I'm spending the time in Grants and getting to catch up on things here around town. So it'll be a nice little weekend. It'll be weird not having the immediate family around, but they're all going to be in New York with my grandma's extended family that we found through Ancestry for the first time. So there's a lot to be thankful for this 4th of July, and I'm glad they're getting to go spend time up there. How about you, Tyler? Going back home?
No, the Summer of Jones is on a bye week this week.
Oh, it's a bye week.
Yes, taking a little pause. Gonna enjoy the holiday in Dallas. It should be good. Hang out with friends down here. And then next week, back on the road, the Summer of Jones continues in my old home of Kansas City next week. So enjoy the couple days here, and then we're back on the road again next week. So look forward to that, and it should be a lot of fun there. So on that note, we will put the checker flag out on this episode of Let's Go Racing with David Starr. As always, subscribe to the show. New episodes out each and every Wednesday on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review, or don't leave us one at all. Also, check us out on YouTube and hit that like button if you haven't already. And also make sure to follow us on Twitter at Star Podcast, Facebook.com/David Starr Podcast, and my email, David Starr Podcast. For David Starr and Dominic Aragon, I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks so long. It's been another edition of Let's Go Racing. See you next week.